What's up, bros and hoes, whatever floats your goat? It's Relentless here, bringing you yet another Division build video. And today, sticking along with the theme that I've been going on, we're looking at the non-traditional 6-piece classified gear set. But before we hop into that, ground and pound that like and subscribe button. If you happen to be new, turn on post notifications so that way you know each and every time a new video or live stream goes up. Also, check out the links in the description below. We have an awesome Division t-shirt and hoodie, multiple sizes and colors. You want it, we got it for all things Division. It's an awesome t-shirt, so get it while supplies last. But anyways, there'll be gameplay at the end of the video demonstrating the different variations and forms of this build. This is the Alpha Bridge 3 ways. So let's kick it off with the most typical non-6-piece Alpha Bridge version. As you can see here, we are utilizing just 5 pieces and the Vigorous chest piece. Now, this particular, the first way I should say, is based on having a healer in your group. And depending on the experience and how good your healer is, your toughness and firearms you can fluctuate to best suit your playstyle along with your squad's playstyle. You can go a little more in firearms and be a less in the amount of toughness, or you can add just a little bit of skill power just in case, such as like your healer's immune box is disrupted, so that way, you know, temporarily you have an adequate, decent immune box to throw down. But primarily this is more or less a DPS build when accompanied with a healer in your squad. Now let's go over the weapons first. Alright, our base damage, as you can see, 23.7k, and we're utilizing the house with Deadly, Responsive, Card Counter, and Vicious. Because 9 times out of 10, your healer will not be running a pulse. He'll probably be running an immune box and a defibrillator. So just to make up for no one having a pulse in your group whatsoever, with all the influx of flame turrets and also Predator's Mark, the absolute box is a must when it comes to the DZ. At least 2, most of the time 3 out of the 4 members in your group should always run it. But typically, if it's just say a 3-man group, I wouldn't expect too much by way of pulse of any of them. But in a 4-man, I'm pretty sure at least one of you will be running some kind of pulse. But in the event that their pulse is down, it makes no difference because that is why you're using Vicious. Now, for instance, if someone does have a decent pulse or halfway adequate one, and you can also drop this one, and I have a house just for that, depending on the situation. As you can see, that's my typical one. If I want to do this a PvE style, then of course I have a house for that. But basically, I just switch out my secondary, and then I go with the Unforgiving instead of the Vicious. So I would go Deadly, Responsive, Card Counter, Unforgiving if someone in the group is running a pulse. But if no pulse is available, then I just use this and then equip the Talent Precision. That gives me pretty much a base pulse. You just pretty much gotta bonk them in the head. In the mod slots in this house, we have magazine size, crit damage, and crit chance. And the optics, crit hit damage, optimal range, and crit chance. In the muzzle, crit hit damage, headshot damage, crit hit chance. And in the underbarrel, crit hit damage, reload speed, and just a little bit of stability that kind of somewhat helps my potato aim. Now let's hop into the gear. It's the Vigorous chest piece, maxed out on armor roll, not completely maxed out by way of stamina. As you can see, it's only 284, but eventually it will be, and that will reflect in my toughness, as you see above. So it should go up just a little bit, not much. And then in the majors, we have health, along with exotic damage resilience, and since you are running Alpha Bridge, you definitely want ammo capacity in the minors. In the mod slots, we have 2 firearms and health. Moving on to the backpack, roll 2 firearms, maxed out on it, 1310 in armor, still got a little ways to go on it. And the major attributes, you want crit hit damage, the minors, plus definitely ammo capacity, the most ammo capacity you could possibly get, so that way you can always make sure you have ammo, because there's no way of switching to your secondary because you have to have the same type weapon equipped. So basically you're sharing ammo but only using your primary weapon. Unless you're pretty good with a pistol, then you have unlimited ammo. Or somebody like a Reclaimer Wise or whatnot, if that's your support and your healer, then as long as you know he has his box, then you can get as much ammo as you want. In the mod slots, we have firearms and health with 2 first aid self-heals. Moving on with the gloves, crit hit chance, crit hit damage, SMG damage, and rolled to stamina. If you prefer the AR Alpha Bridge build, this way, by all means, instead of the SMG damage, put AR damage. Now moving on to the mask, almost maxed out in its armor, it's maxed out on its firearm. In the major attributes, you want crit hit chance, and the minors, I went ahead and rolled it so that way I can have a little bit more burn resistance. But if you want some damage to elites to help out in a PvE situation, to help with the influx of NPCs in the Dark Zone, then by all means have damage to elites in the minors. And in the mod slot, we have another firearms and health. Now moving on to the knee pads, roll to stamina. The RNG gods hate me because it's off by 1 point, being out maxed on its stamina. And then it has a good armor roll. And the major attributes, you want crit hit damage. And the minors, as you can see, I have more burn resistance, and then some disorient resistance. And instead of the increased kill XP, anything, any kind of resistance in whatever form it would be much better than having increased kill XP here. And then the mod slots, we have firearms and health with a first aid self-heal. Now moving on to the holster, as I completely optimized this up eventually. Basically I got maxed armor, but where it means most, 1401 in firearms and in stamina, that's what means most when it comes to this particular build, because we're not relying on our skills as far as by way of electronics. In the major attributes, you want crit hit chance, and then we have a first aid self-heal. So this one is primarily utilizing the overheal when it comes to having a healer in your group, so that way you can match that overheal along with all the nomad dependents in the Dark Zone, and it comes in quite handy. And then plus with your own health and also other people using their boxes and shooting down heals, so that way you basically can have a constant overheal. So that way you definitely can utilize the vicious talent on your weapon, because crit hit chance is increased by 10% while having more than 2 health segments. So with a healer and plus all the others combined plus your own, you should pretty much 95% of the time be above the 2 health segments, unless you are roguing it out manhunt and you got half the server, or if not the whole server of the DZPD. But mostly you're going to be able to burn through their nomad procs and have enough survivability. But keep in mind, this is particularly when you have a healer support build in your group, so that way you can do tons of damage and you rely on your healer. But this is the most common way, and like I said, depending on your playstyle, you can fluctuate the firearms and stamina however you choose. This is just goes along with my playstyle. Alright, that is the first way. Now going on to the second, a little bit different as far as by way of the toughness and the firepower, and we have a little bit more skill power due to the Barrett's bulletproof vest, because when no skills are on cooldown, it increases skill power by 10%, which is 10% is really not that much. But what we're doing here, with not speccing into skill haste whatsoever, we're going to be leveraging the talent when it comes to having 1 skill on cooldown increases damage by 5%. So since it takes, at the bare minimum, whatever your skills on cooldown, almost a minute, 50 seconds for a booster, and then 36 seconds for your box, or such as if you have a pulse, that is also 50 seconds. So if you're utilizing any of those, then for a solid minute, if you have a healer whatsoever, or whatever the case may be in your group, and you have sufficient enough toughness and survivability, when it comes to this, you can leverage that 5% bonus damage on top of the 15% you're already getting from the 5-piece Alpha Bridge. So basically all the mods stayed the same. The weapons have also stayed the same. Nothing has changed absolutely whatsoever, but you'll see a little bit of difference when it comes to the other 23.7 versus the 22, but that also is the upside, and that reflects the downside of the card counter talent when it comes to the Alpha Bridge. But like I said, I'll just skim through it really quick. As you see on this one, I have health on a kill and health, but I also have a Barrett's bulletproof vest that has some exotic damage resilience. If there's a lot of stickies and seekers going along and a lot of grenades in the Dark Zone, then that little bit of exotic damage resilience will come in handy. And like I said, ammo capacity, but as you'll see with this one, we have, instead of just straight health on health mods, as far as stealth and stamina and health in the minors, when it comes to we are specking into stamina and crit chance, and also firearms and crit chance. So that way we at least achieve the 50.5% crit hit chance. So that way we can utilize the talent precision, Bates Pulse, just for dinging them in the head, and we're basically at max crit chance and 136% crit damage. That is the exact the sweet spot you want to be. Without using a pulse, if such as I was using vicious right here, then I can actually go with a health, stamina and health mod and take off 1% crit chance, because the vicious would absolutely put me at the max crit chance cap. So therefore no pulse from any teammate whatsoever. But if I still wanted to use one, it would be basically just to have the additional crit hit damage to stack on top of it. Now, as you see, all these in the mod slots are with the crit chance, whether it be firearms or stamina. And that is the second way. Now, this third way I think is the most fun of all. And some of you are probably going to be squinting and trying to, cock your head sideways and like, did I hear him just right? Yes, it is the 5-piece alpha with a specialized backpack. Now, most of you be like, well, why would you want to use a specialized backpack on an alpha bridge? Yes, there are other options like the other two that I went over. You can also, if you want something as far as the rejuvenated, tenacious, pharaohs, all those are good options as well. But I do not see anywhere that you would actually need savage gloves with any 5-piece. Because as you can see, just by the sheer talents or with mods, you don't have to sacrifice a whole gear piece just for savage gloves. They are much better options. But as you can see here, I have 514k toughness, but I have a whopping 153k skill power. And I put and mix match as many mods as I could, so that way I can achieve the perfect skill power. Because with the Scrambler Pulse, I'm exactly at 14% crit chance. And the reason for that being, on this house, as you see here, using the Deadly, Responsive, and the Unforgiving. So that way, when I do pulse, if you add the 14% on to the 45, you're at 59.5% crit hit chance. This house here is a 0.5% off from being the 23% crit hit chance, which is the max. And I'm still doing almost 21k in damage, but I'm utilizing the Responsive and Unforgiving since I won't have an overheal. More or less, if you are trading, and especially if you are solo, you still have enough toughness, and you can, win a 1v1 because you have significant enough skill power and toughness to have the most survivability as possible. I get almost 94k out of skill power. Like I said, the 14% crit hit chance by the way of pulse, and then an additional 14% crit hit damage, and that puts me at 136 plus the 14. That's 150% crit hit damage stacked on top of it. And you still have a med kit to cleanse yourself of status effects, and also, if need be, you can run a blue. And I was actually running this out earlier. I just happened to join some friends of mine, and they actually were already rogue and manhunt. And so I really didn't say anything because they were in a party. So I just, started working my way toward them. And you'll actually see the devastation, destruction that I caused with this particular one right here. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, you have good toughness and survivability, but when it comes to, your actual heals, and then on top of that pulse, then you have that 153k skill power. But like I said, these things, as far as the numbers and stats, when it comes to firearms, stamina, electronics, you can mix and match. If you wanted to, you can stack more into firearms, a little bit more in toughness, and just have the base skill power that you get by way of the specialized backpack, because you see, add 200% of firearms and stamina to your skill power. So all these are rolled the exact same, identical as far as the pieces itself. You'll see on my Alpha Bridge chest piece, it is rolled to health, exotic damage resilience with ammo capacity. I have also the ammo capacity on my backpack. Those things are key. But I'll go over this one in depth a little bit more, as far as even including the mods. But as far as the weapons have stayed the same, with a deadly, responsive, and unforgiving. All the talents as far as the mods on the weapon is as exactly identical. The only thing that's more or less changed is more or less the chest and backpack have switched out, either from vigorous or Barrett's to a specialized. And that's why I have them all three, depending on the situation and who's in the group or whatnot. Then I'm prepared to use a 5-piece alpha bridge with something, no matter what situation I'm in. If I want more skill power but still be able to lay down tons of firepower and DPS and hit like a tank, then I can still do it even with this build. But I have a little bit more survivability due to my stacked on top of skill power. But in the mods, real quick, I don't want to keep you on this for too long. As you can see, stamina and skill power, and firearms and health. On the mask, firearms and skill power. On the knee pad, stamina and skill power. And the mods on the backpack is firearms and health. And I mix match as much as possible so I can achieve the exact amount of crit hit chance if I wanted to use a conceal or whatever pulse it would be, so that way I was hitting max crit chance cap every single time, so that way I'm doing the max amount of damage as possible. Now if you want a bit more skill power instead of the health on mods that I had, you could also put skill power on those. If you wanted more skill power, you can take off the mods that have the skill power on them and add health on top of that, so that way you're even more tankier. But I found that this is basically an even overall heavy hitting with a little bit electronics and survivability. It's balanced more or less when it comes to the firepower, and no matter who you're running with, what builds they are, this build right here will complement any build or anybody that you're running with. Because if they are a complete straight DPS, then you're going to have a little bit more skill power to help both of you out when it comes by way of boxes, pulse, heals, whatever you want to utilize. And also, you're still going to be doing tons of damage and still have adequate enough toughness. But anyways, I rambled on. If I had to choose, if I'm running with the healer, I would go with the vigorous. And if we do not have a healer in the group, it's pretty much a fielder's choice depending on who I'm running with and what they're running, whether I would go this route or the Barrett's chest piece. But usually I will only run the vigorous chest piece if I have a good healer in my group. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, ground and pound that like and subscribe button. Be sure to definitely hit that and ground that like button. But if you have difference of opinion and you for some reason don't like the 3 ways that I have, then you can hit those dislikes just as well. I prefer you not to, but hey, I would just want honesty and transparency. So whatever the case may be, just leave me a comment and let me know what you guys think. But now I've rambled on enough. Sorry about that. And I'm gonna give you some gameplay. Thank you guys so much. Beast mode!
Yep. It's down. It's good. Okay, we got a heal in the front. Yeah, pop my box. Healing you. Relentless.
Ah!
I'm coming to you.
This dude.
He just put out rolling balls. Right, here's balls. Yeah, you got him. There's a box. There's a med kit for everybody.
Where'd your buddy go?
Killed him.
Nope.
Fucking dead.
This dude right here that
Yeah,
was
dude.
melted.